We are back and getting ready to go into our next match between tom60229 and DawN. That means that this is going to be the upper match in the group, and the winner will just move on to tomorrow. Now, actually, tomorrow, Sunday, that makes sense. They're going to move on to the final day of the playoffs and have that chance at booking a spot in the global finals.
Yeah, big move for both of these players. Obviously, tom60229 has less to prove, I think it's fair to say, at least to the Western audience. DawN is a very popular streamer in South Korea, whereas Tom, I think, I don't know if he streams so much anymore, but was at one point a very popular streamer himself, I believe. But it is going to be a difficult road for both of these players because they're both very formidable opponents. However, Tom has a bit of a weird lineup compared to a lot of the other players, sticking pretty much with what he's gone for again, week after week after week, even with new cards slotted in.
Yeah, he's got the Holy Wrath Paladin, he's got the Zoo, which he's known very much for.
Yeah.
He does have this Shaman that we saw from, or at least close to the one we saw from Alutimu and Glory, which is the aggro/token Shaman. But he is, going to dodge incurring my wrath, as he does have a Soul of Murlocs in the deck. Just the one, but I think the one makes the world of difference. It looks like he's going to be banning out, he's going to be shielding Priest and having his Paladin banned out. Not too much of a surprise here. And then DawN is going to be shielding his Warrior, and I do believe the matchup is going to be Priest and Warrior.
Very interesting picks and bans here for both of these players. Tom, I almost wonder if we should have seen from him. I can always respect a Priest ban. It's always just ground zero for these players that you just go for the Priest, the shield, sorry. The Priest shield there is always very, very strong. But I do wonder if maybe the Paladin was ever something he should have considered, because it was banned away from his opponent there. And against DawN's lineup, it had some very strong matchups. The Warrior, I like it a lot against that.
Right.
The Priest, I think it's fine. The Shaman, I think, honestly, really struggles against the OTK Holy Wrath Paladin because of all its removal, all its stall. And so I wonder if from Tom, the Combo Priest maybe wasn't the most effective deck up against DawN, because it did give him a very easy shield on Warrior, which allows him to get great matchups against all three of Tom's remaining decks, in my opinion.
Yeah, arguably, yeah. I think overall, it's that tough thing of just saying Priest is so powerful. I'm getting close to sneezing, sorry. Priest is, I'll just push it away. Priest is so powerful that it's just worth the shield, because it means that, we've seen what Priest can do. It almost won 2 matchups in that previous series. Very, very close against Surrender in the second one. But it is a tough one, because it's where strategy just gets overridden by just raw power of a deck. So again, I think he could have shielded Paladin and been fine, but the fact he shielded Priest, I don't think is going to be a detriment to his game plan.
That's fair. I think the real weakness, though, for Tom in this series could just be the Zoo deck. I think in this current metagame, it is not the way to go, in my opinion. Against the Shaman decks that people are knocking about now, I think Zoo is awful. Okay. I hate Zoo against these kind of token Shamans because they just do better stuff than you. They're playing out all these... The Shaman can still play out a bunch of 1-drops, but then as soon as it hits the mid-game, they're doing the most broken stuff you can imagine. Vulture into tap seems so tame by comparison when you're looking at Thunderhead, couple of spells, Mogu evolve, Hare evolve, Sea Giants for 0 mana. I just find that the Zoo, by going so wide, often plays directly into what the Shaman is trying to do, which is mana cheat. And so I think for Tom, we very possibly just won't see the Zoo queued for the entire series.
Yeah, and I think that's fair, depending on matchups that are around as well. Because, like, I think if the Shaman got a win in Game 1, for example, then it would be fine to queue it. But we'll see how it progresses. But most importantly, let's go into Game number 1. The winner goes through to tomorrow to the semi-finals. It's going to be Tom on the top on the Priest, and DawN on the bottom on the Warrior. And the Warrior, I'm just going to triple check, but I believe it has 0 of the, I'll say new cards in it. Yeah, 0. Not too much of a surprise. No need to really run Emperor. I think the deck is quite efficient on its mana usage anyway. Doesn't run the N'Zoth package that a lot of Warriors have been running. It isn't the Highlander that a lot of Warrior players have been playing. It's just straight up Control Warrior.
Yeah, I think the N'Zoth package is really the only other thing I'd consider. Like Varian Rin, I think with all the battle cry minions and low statted minions you have, probably doesn't quite make the cut in Control Warrior. Although I am always a fan of Varian.
Looking at it here, Tom not got off to the best start, but definitely not the worst either. I'd say just a very middle of the line hand here. Got some options. Got Amit, of course, which is great. Now the Psycho Pump pickup makes that a lot better, especially going against Warrior.
Pretty much the nightmare response, though, from for DawN up against Tom's Light Warden here. He has nothing to heal, no way to damage anything without just killing off his own Light Warden. And so he's just got to accept that it's going to die.
Ooh. Now they're both going to die.
Whew. That pickup making it even more disgusting.
Also as well, to be fair,
Wow.
I'd say it's the same, you know, DawN just running Control Warrior. But a lot of the Control Warriors, at least super recently, weren't running double flunky, right?
No, that's been cut from the vast majority
it's
of
been cut
lists,
recently.
yeah.
So DawN having access to just a few more 2-drops is actually pretty nice, especially in this matchup.
Just working out so disgustingly well for him here, with the Restless Mummy as well coming to the rescue to take out Amit. We're really just looking at Psycho Pump rezzing the Amit here for Tom to have any real chance in the coming turns.
Well, 1 out of 3. Nope, worst one by far.
Good news for DawN.
And
Very good
maybe
news.
that was a reason for Tom not to play the Pyro. He knew he had Psycho Pump, he knew he had Amit, he knew that a Warden would die, but even a Warden I think is better than this Pyro.
So what happens? He goes just pass instead of playing anything on 2, and then it's a value trade. He could then drop Acolyte on turn 3, or go coin Amit thereafter. Yeah, maybe.
Because this sucks, right? Like,
This does
Pyromancer is
suck.
by far the worst one.
This does suck.
DawN's shaking his head, not quite sure why.
Take more damage than he needed to? Don't think so.
Start cycling some card draw now, but with this War Gear, I'll make a big minion. How does it feel, Priest? How does it feel?
This is less a game of Hearthstone and more just a clinical dissection of Tom's deck. He's got nothing.
As if Tom has done this a million times, doesn't even think about the turn. And I don't mean that in a negative way, I mean like how fast he plays. He's just like, right, okay, so I'll play Master Circle, heal it, go.
He knows what he's doing.
Well, not Circle, you know what I mean.
So, Weapons Project, Hero Power, Flunky, Shield Slam, clear everything, win the game. Sound good?
Yeah. I was looking at if Super Collider actually did it.
It's interesting to consider, yeah, for sure.
Because it puts the Blade Master to 1 and you've just seen an F reset. And you put the mana into having a Super Collider, which is generally, I think, actually pretty good against Priests.
Yeah. I think if you didn't have such a clean other option, I'd definitely go for that as the second best. Ooh.
Grizzly.
Grizzly. Yeah, I'm liking the look of that.
This is obviously very clean, don't get me wrong. Honestly, DawN must be having the time of his life right now. Like,
Yep.
I'm just saying, from a player perspective, how important this day
Yeah.
is for each of these 4 players. To beat your opponent like Surrender in your first match, then to go up against Tom for a spot in the semi-finals, and your first game is this,
Yeah.
you're like, okay. You know, morale on an all-time high, I think, here for DawN, and rightly so.
Absolutely. And I get the feeling from DawN, actually, that he is one of the players who maybe is less confident in himself, if I can make that claim, because of how expressive he is, you can see how much it means to him. And generally, I feel like with those kind of players who are so obviously elated when things go right, it comes from a place of almost believing that it's not going to go right, and so you're surprised when it does, which is not to say that DawN is not a fierce competitor at all. It's just he does not have quite the same pedigree as a lot of some of the other players are rocking.
Well, Tom's saying, well,
Yeah, here we go.
this is the game.
This is his final chance to turn things around now. A 12/12 minion and says, this is going to get there.
DawN's like, I can play a 12 health minion.
Slightly less powerful of a 12 health minion.
Still got 12 health. I do like not playing it this turn, though.
I do too. I think Wally will do more than a good enough job.
And I think, as well, because there's exactly 12 attack, it's playing the same minion, right? No matter which one you play, it's with the same, whereas there are greater upsides to the Grizzly.
For Tom there, we got to see pretty much his entire turn before his card was even drawn, which is classic Tom.
Classic.
The absolute mad lad.
Yeah, why not? Tom's already said he's all in. Let's go further.
Do you ever save it? I guess if you get like Bwan Samdi off the top, like the only relevant reason to not play it, you may as well just do it because you might have to spend all your mana next turn.
And DawN may as well win this game.
He may as well just win this game.
Plague of Wrath is honestly, I think, one of the strongest, fairest cards from the new set because it's so powerful. It's insane. It's so powerful single target in you know, the current world we live in, I guess, and also just great AoE as well, with some setup required. It's so sick, but I don't think it's overpowered in any way. I think it's just a very well-designed card.
Yeah, it's pretty difficult to make removal cards feel especially broken when compared to like proactive cards. Generally, those are the ones that feel oppressive. It's really only Psychic Scream we've had, I think, that felt like oppressively powerful in the removal slot.
Right, can he inner fire his own portrait? No? Okay. It's the first thing you check.
Wouldn't even be lethal then. Oh no, wait.
True.
It would be exactly lethal. I take that back.
Not now. And that's going to be it. Tom takes game number 1. And a shake of the fist there as he's very happy with that game. And look at this, like, DawN is, you know, like you were saying, I'm not necessarily, you know, thinks he's going to lose, but the fact that if he just 2-0s his group now, it'll be insane. It means he can just go straight to the semi-finals and have 2 matches to just get there, get to the global finals in a few weeks at BlizzCon. It'd be huge.
It really would, because you have to remember, it's not only what happens in-game that these players have invested to it. For the past 3 or 4 days, DawN will have been practicing tirelessly to find the lineup. With the Doom in the Tomb event happening right now, all the new cards coming through, players have just been relentlessly trying to find the deck, whatever it may be, that can get the advantage over his opponent. And DawN's put, you know, a pretty out-there lineup on the table here when compared to a lot of the other players. We're talking no Druid, which was very, very popular for a lot of the other players. No Paladin, which was very, very popular for a lot of the other players. Just old school Control Warrior, which pretty much no one else brought. And if you bring a deck that no one else brings and it does horribly, you feel kind of foolish.
Yes. We've all remembered previous points in history that that's happened. I believe, what would you say? Hot Meowth's deck being the biggest one?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Slash Rage, I guess.
Yeah, that was
a scary one.
a bit of a blunder. I respect him for it.
Oh, yeah.
But, yeah.
He still lost.
That's one of the series of Hearthstone, or that tournament where Hot Meowth... Oh, no, wait, he brought that deck to Worlds.
It was to Worlds. It was to Worlds. Yep.
I remember the championship that he won, because he was one of the few Hearthstone players that I actually knew and was friends with at the time. And I was freaking out.
You weren't going nuts.
Whereas now, I have many friends in Hearthstone, as everyone knows.
Now you're a bit of a big deal.
Right?
At least that's what we tell ourselves. Going into game number 2, it is going to be DawN versus Tom. DawN currently leading 1-0, and we're going to have the Shaman Mirror. Oh, okay. The Quasi Mirror, because
yeah.
Tom is running the, I'll say, aggro Shaman or token Shaman, and DawN is running the Quest. What are you calling this deck, Derek? What should I call this top deck?
Token Shaman, I think is what I go for. Okay. Yeah.
I guess the hairs probably push it over the edge, right, of it being a token deck.
Yeah, and, well, the other thing with it being a token deck, a lot of 1 health minions, it turns out, in the deck. And it turns out what's pretty good against that is actually the Sandstorm Elemental.
Do you think Quest Shaman is favored versus this deck?
No.
You don't think it is? Okay.
Again, this is purely on my own testing from ladder. I've been playing a lot of the Token Shaman deck, and I've been doing pretty well against Quest Shamans, because I think for the most part, what this matchup comes down to is the early game nonsense. Because if you let it get into the late game, absolutely Quest Shaman takes the advantage. Not a shadow of a doubt, because they have so much more value loaded into the deck. But even though the decks are moving closer and closer together in terms of the core powerhouse cards of the deck, with Desert Hair, Evolve, Mogu, Mutate in both decks, I think that the Token Shaman with the The Thunderhead, the Voltaic Burst, the Sea Giants in a lot of lists as well, I think just does it that little bit better, which usually means they run away with the game.
Yeah, so really, you know, as these players are playing pretty quick, you got a good one, didn't he? That'll do. Do you think that it really comes down to the token deck having a just consistently more, like, better opening?
Yes.
You know, it's not that either openings are good if they're good, but Token Shaman just has it more often over the course of X games. Okay.
It kind of balances out, though, because Token Shaman has to have the better early game, but they're also more likely to have the better early game, which makes it an interesting matchup in my opinion, because they can also then do stuff like this. If you're leaving any amount of minions on the board...
The scene is just...
It's insane!
Where's this damage come from?
Yeah, out of nowhere. Zap, zap, zap.
Who ordered this damage? Is anyone signing for this?
And this is a brave or slightly different style of play that Tom is going for that you don't always see necessarily in going for just pushing everything face rather than fighting heavily for board control because he has lightning bolts and lickums.
Yeah, and that's just recognition of what his hand does. And again, as you mentioned, you ain't going late versus Quest Shaman. You're just not in almost all circumstances. So I like it from Tom. It's going to be the steal with the man control tech. The Mogu's drawn as well. There's an evolve, and unless this is
there's nothing.
Literally.
Doomsayer.
Well, he trades off the one drop, right? So it can't be.
Well,
sorry, he's got lucky, yeah.
Well, he doesn't even have to evolve, is the thing.
Oh.
He's just so far in the lead.
Disappointed, DawN. Just press it for the fans. I just wanted to see what it evolved into.
Just do it for the vine.
See, look, wasted opportunity now. The Mogu's dead.
This is the punish for his line in play, and it's something you have to consider. This token deck can be very reactive with its cheap spells and the licking. But this is the reward for that line of play.
And the hero power. This is one of the things that pushes me over to Quest Shaman.
Okay, fair enough.
Is that the hero power with these evolve things is ridiculous. Look at this. Look at Tom.
It's not even particularly good,
and
it's still more than enough. DawN with the win over Tom there.
And honestly, yes, he's laughing at kind of how silly the game is, but I'm pretty sure it's also a massive part. He's just happy he's just, boom, just made it through to the semi-finals. He is done. Your job, sir, is done for the day. You won your first match versus Surrender. You demolished Tom in a very quick series overall. You chill out and enjoy yourself. Get ready for tomorrow.
Very well deserved there by DawN. It was, you know, to an extent a bit of a cheesy game, but this is, again, what Shaman does. It's not something that just happens as a side effect of what the deck does. The core of pretty much all Shaman decks now is cheating out this mana at the start, going for very, very powerful evolves. And, you know, you can make whatever claims you want about him getting pretty fortunate in that game there. You can just see exactly how much it means to him getting through to the semi-finals.
Exactly, and that does mean, as I did mention, DawN is through. Tom will have to await his next opponent, which is going to be the winner between Shaxi and Surrender that we have coming up after the break. So don't go anywhere, and we'll be right back.